Hello everyone, Happy New Year. This is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today as I take a deeper look into the most recent episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 5, The Reunion, Part 1. I'm not doing a full episode recap. There are plenty of other content creators who cover this show. I'm going to focus on specific segments of the episode that I believe could be used as teachable moments for myself and the audience. So off the rip, everybody looked good. I liked the hair. I liked the gowns they were wearing. The only problem I had was with Kimmy's wig. The part, she had like a blonde wig that was a bob. It was, I guess it was shoulder length or right below her neck, right above her shoulders, I'm sorry. And the part was like a quarter part instead of a 3/4 part. So when you're parting your hair into 4 sections, I thought you were supposed to take 1/4 of a part and split that in half too, so that the weight of the part would not be unevenly distributed. The hair, it's like, I don't know, the wig wasn't, it didn't work out well for me. I like the color on her. The color looked good. She looks good in blonde actually, but, and I think that her lipstick was a bit too dark for her complexion. I don't know, this is my personal opinion, but they all looked good anyway. Her body looked nice. Melody looked nice. Tisha looked nice. All the men looked good. Kiki looked adorable. She has these beautiful Bambi eyes. I kept thinking that it was her makeup, but her eyes are really, really beautiful. But anyway, they spent the majority of the episode, I think, talking about Marsau's infidelity and the fact that there hasn't been any evidence presented of Marsau being unfaithful. Okay, so here's the deal. In season 1, Melody and Tisha fell out after, Melody found out Martell had an affair, and Melody kind of pulled away from their relationship to process what happened to her. And in the midst of that, she found out that Marsau and Tisha were making little snide remarks about their marriage not being as perfect as they wanted other people to believe. And at some point, Melody clapped back and was like, well, you have to check what your husband's doing at 3 o'clock in the morning. Roll up to the bar and see what your husband's doing. And then Martell, later on in the season, was like, Marsau had 20 girlfriends, okay? And he was confronted about this. So when Martell told Marsau that he had 20 girlfriends, Marsau had a smirk on his face, okay? He looked surprised, but he had a smirk on his face as well. And over the past several seasons, people have been speculating about whether or not Marsau was unfaithful to Tisha. And Tisha kept saying that Melody was trying to destroy her marriage by essentially lying on Marsau about being unfaithful and a cheater. The thing is this, last year, Ariane did an interview with Tasha K, and she said that she would go to Atlanta with Martell and the other guys, Marsau, Maurice, and probably some other dudes, and they would be with linebackers. All the men had girlfriends or women with them, okay? In season 2 or 1 or 2, Melody said that Martell's behavior changed after he started hanging out with the Scott brothers, okay? Then we found out during the reunion last year that Marsau knew that Martell was cheating. He was hanging out with his mistress. He was aware of what was happening. Additionally, Marsau is a proud chauvinist, okay? He's somebody who believes that a woman's place is in the kitchen, in the home, and a man's place is out in the field, okay? Furthermore, Marsau also went to Africa by himself. So there has been a lot of circumstantial evidence about Marsau potentially being a cheater. And throughout this whole situation, Tisha has stood 10 toes down and said, I trust my husband. Nobody's presented any evidence. I don't have any receipts, so I'm going to believe him. And I remember in season 1, either Tisha or Marsau or Martell, I don't know who said it, but Martell said something like, he wishes that Melody were more like Tisha. And I don't think he meant the stay-at-home wife thing, not that, because Martell needed Melody to be the CEO of Holt & Holt because he did not have his builder's license. I think he meant that he wanted Melody to be as naive and gullible as Tisha. Because while Tisha was saying that she was going to ride with her husband until she got enough evidence to leave him, Martell was like, yeah, keep that shit together. Keep it together, right? Meaning that, and Martell knew, first of all, Martell knew that Marsau was cheating, because when Carlos kept asking him questions, he basically pled the fifth, right? He didn't say no, 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 no. He pled the fifth. He was like, I'm not going to comment on that, okay? And then Tisha was like, yeah, I don't have any evidence, so, I'm not going to believe rumors and speculation over my husband. And then Martell was like, yeah, keep it together. Meaning, yeah, keep playing dumb. Keep acting stupid. This is how I like my women. Dumb, gullible, and naive while I run around town and get my mistress pregnant 3 times. Yes, please keep doing that. So Martell, and I said this more than one time before, Martell wasn't just angry about Melody confronting him about his affair. He was angry at the fact that she dared to challenge him. Like he felt entitled to having an affair or another woman or girlfriend, because more than likely he saw Maurice and Marsau having fun too. So he was like, well, I look better than these guys. I'm more successful than these men. I'm entitled to having a side piece, because these men who are not as attractive as I am, they're not as successful as I am, they get to have fun. Why can't I have fun too? I think that was a part of his anger. He felt like Melody was denying him of something that he felt entitled to because of his position and his status and the way he looks and everything he was doing in the household, quote unquote, for Melody. He was like, Marsau, and this is what I'm saying here in my mind. He was like, Marsau doesn't help out with the kids around the house. He doesn't do anything with the children as far as outside the home. Marsau's not running a successful company like him. And if you guys remember in, I believe it was season 3, Marsau said that Martell was comparing himself to other men, and that's the problem, right? Because they went to Vegas together, and Melody and Martell had an argument, and basically I think they were discussing like why the divorce happened, and Marsau was like, well, Martell's comparing himself to other men. Now, which other men was he comparing himself to the point where he would feel entitled to being a cheater? Okay, unless he was comparing himself to men who were cheating on their wives. And who would that be? Marsau and Martell were the best of buddies. Okay, so who would that be, right? Martell even said there are things that we know among each other as men that we will never tell our wives. He said that too in response to Tisha basically implying that Martell and Melody were both conspiring together to destroy their relationship. And Martell was like, no, I got a lot of dirt on both of you guys. If I wanted to do it, I would do it. If I wanted to do it, I could do it. And he got offended by that because, yes, he said some things about Marsau, but there was a lot of things that he knows that he does not talk about. And he wants to get credit for holding on to the secrets as well as he has, because Martell has a difficult time. He's not a good liar. He's a liar, but he's not a good liar. He lies a lot, but he's not a good one. So he has lots of tells when he's lying, right? He starts to clear his throat. He says things of that nature. His facial expressions, he has a very expressive face. And people think that he's sincere or too dumb or naive or too... Martell is not sophisticated enough to be a good liar, right? He's not sophisticated enough to be crafty. He's manipulative, but he's not crafty. So people kind of like him, right? The people watch the show and his buddies, they like him because he's not somebody who like thinks ahead to do things. He's someone who has like a childlike demeanor and personality where he's very impulsive and doesn't think ahead. And so people see him as someone who's not as manipulative or sinister as they would see someone like Melody, who's very smart and calculated. So people like Martell more, not because he's a better person, but because they feel like he's not malicious or crafty. They feel like he's just dumb and selfish. It's two different things. It's almost like somebody who does the wrong thing because they don't know any better versus somebody who does the wrong thing because they're trying to get one over on someone, right? And so it's complicated to say this because Martell was being manipulative and sneaky and crafty when it came to Ariana and Melody, that whole affair situation. But Martell was so simple and so dumb, but so simple. He could not understand why his wife would be upset about him having an affair, like a child. Like, I'm entitled to this. You're messing with my fun time. Okay? He resented Melody for interrupting his fun time like a kid, like a spoiled child. And that makes him endearing to some women. I remember reading some of the comments on his IG before, I think he blocked me. I don't know why, because I never say anything to him. But before he I remember reading some of the comments on his IG, and I'm like, are y'all serious? These women are thirsty for him. They're like, they're blatantly flirting with him and saying how marvelous he is. And I'm like, what's happening right now? It's like his personality makes him likable, but he's so selfish and short-sighted that he only thinks about his immediate needs and what's beneficial to him. So whatever acts of kindness or whatever goodwill he shows people, it's a means to an end, because he does have narcissistic traits, right? I've been saying this for over a year. He exhibits symptoms of NPD, right? And I'm not a therapist or a counselor or psychologist, no, but he seems like somebody who has a personality disorder. So they can mask and hide their true intentions very, very well. But even with all that, Martell is not a good liar. Marsau is an exceptional liar. He knows how to compartmentalize his feelings, okay? Martell can't do that. His face betrays him every single time. And so while they were having this conversation about Marsau going to Africa, right? Martell had an expression like, that's why he went to Africa? Like, word? Is that what it was? Like, he knew something that other people did not know, right? And like, it's insane to me how, listen, let me just go back. It is Tisha's prerogative to hold on to her marriage at all costs, okay? That's her business. She has the right to do that. I've said this months ago. She has the right to hold on to her marriage because, marriages are very difficult to detach from. You have businesses together, homes, property, children, lifestyle. It's a lot of stuff, right? So this is a relationship that is not just based on love and friendship, so to speak, and household duties and responsibilities. It's a business partnership. So I understand why Tisha would want to hold on to her relationship at all costs. And Martell wanted Melody to do the same thing. But I will say this. The reason why Melody and Tisha had such an issue in the beginning is because she implied that Melody was lying on her to destroy her relationship. Okay, so if Melody was lying on Tisha or Marsau, it would give more credence to the allegation that Melody was being malicious when she discussed Marsau's infidelity. But the problem with that is that people know that Marsau cheated. They don't know for sure. They don't have evidence, but Marsau cheated with women who probably had something to lose. He was probably one of the individuals that Martell talked to, right? Remember when Melody said that the final straw for her was when Martell asked her if she spoke to the older women, and she said yeah, and then she asked if he spoke to the older men, and he said yeah, and they gave him a list or blueprint of how to have an affair without getting caught. Okay, I think Marsau was one of the people who gave him that advice. So I'm going to say this. I don't think Melody's lying. I never thought she was lying about it. Okay, now whether or not she was telling the truth to throw a wrench in Tisha's marriage, I don't think that was the case either. I think that at that point they were going back and forth and throwing jabs. And to be honest, it wouldn't be fair if Martell was the only one on the hot spot, if Marsau was also cheating on his wife, right? While in the company of Melody's husband. Martell and Marsau and Maurice would hang out together, okay? They would go to Atlanta. Atlanta is the Sin City of the East Coast, right? So what are you going to Atlanta for without your wives? And there's girlfriends there. Ariane said there were girlfriends there, other women there. So Tisha is someone who would play boo-boo the fool to hold on to a marriage because there's a lot at stake. And unlike Tisha, Melody is not the type of person who would want to live a lie like that. Because before the show even started, Melody had left Martell and they reconciled for the show. And they were going to use the backstory of Martell's infidelity to prove how a married couple can overcome trials and tribulations. That was supposed to be their redemption arc, or Martell's redemption arc. And Melody was hosting her events, talking about what was happening in her relationship. She was always transparent about that. There was no secrets about that from the beginning. It's just that Martell felt like Melody did not hold the line when it came to his infidelity. She didn't protect him from his own bad behavior, and so he resented her for that. But he became even more resentful of her because he saw Tisha doing that for Marsau, who in his mind was not as successful or deserving as he was. Because again, Martell thinks that he's the best looking one out of the group, right? He was the one doing the most in the household. He was the most successful. So out of all the people he knows, he should damn sure be able to have an affair if Marsau is having an affair. So I think that was a part of the indignation and self-righteousness that Martell had when Melody exposed his infidelity in public. Okay. So the problem that people have is not necessarily the fact that Marsau was cheating, because most men cheat, or a lot of married men cheat. Okay. It's the fact that she was calling Melody a liar or a hater or someone trying to destroy her marriage for pointing out the obvious, what's obvious to most people. Okay. But again, she's entitled to stay married to whoever she wants to stay married to. That's her prerogative. That's her business. It's just that, calling somebody else a liar and like painting them as an evil villain when they have shown you nothing but grace and favor throughout your relationship. Marsau and Tisha were nodding their heads in agreement when Melody talked about Melody and Martell throwing them licks when it came to their business. Like they were giving them contracts and helping them financially. So how do you say a woman who's been helping you out from the very beginning financially, right? Hooking you up. They helped you with your company, so on. And then she finds out that your husband is partially responsible for her husband cheating. All of a sudden, she's an evil, wicked woman. This reminds me of people like who, and I said this last year, it's like somebody who always gets what they want from you. And then as soon as you say no to them, they have an issue with you. This kind of reminds me of that. It's not exactly the same thing, but for Melody to do as much as she did for the Scotts, and then for Melody to turn around and say, well, your husband is cheating with my husband too, and there's lots of circumstantial evidence to prove that this was happening. For Tisha to turn around and say Melody is an evil person, she's trying to ruin my marriage, and that's why there was such a split in opinion among the audience and the cast members. Because for me, if somebody has done so much for me, and they've given me so much favor, they've helped me out a lot, they brought me into the professional network, they've helped me out a lot. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Melody's support, financial support of the Scotts, helped their marriage. So if Melody was somebody who was trying to destroy marriages, why would she help them out in the first place? She could have let them fall and suffer in poverty and distress and lack where they were, because she would be jealous, or she would be the kind of person that will want to be the only successful couple in the group. Like, I want to be the most successful couple in this group, so let me not help Tisha and Marsau. She could be like that. She could have been that way, but she wasn't that way. She's helped out all of her friends. So for her to be painted with this brush of like this Cruella de Vil, wicked witch of the West, cruel, harsh, manipulative woman, and she's done so much for the people who stabbed her in the back, it doesn't make sense to me. And this is one of the reasons why I felt like Tisha was always low-key jealous of Melody off the rip, and she just wanted an excuse to stab her in the back. That's how I always felt about it. Because you can't take somebody, it's like, if my best friend has been helping me out for years, okay, and there's evidence of this, and she's going through a really hard time. Her husband of a decade has been cheating on her for years, okay? She finds this out. And then I don't have enough compassion to understand why she wouldn't want to talk to me for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even a few months. What kind of friend is that, right? And Melody said this about Martell. If I'm so damn bad, why do you want to stay married to me? If Melody was that damn bad, why was Tisha so adamant about maintaining their friendship? Why would she be so hurt about that if Melody was an evil, wicked liability of a woman? She missed the contributions that Melody made to her life. So now that Melody's done, oh, you're evil, you're wicked, you're bad. Kiki's your puppet. Now, a few months ago, I did say that Melody inviting Kiki to the pajama party was suspect based on her relationship, Melody's relationship with Tisha. It would just seem weird to me that she would do that. And it's kind of like instigating stuff. That's how I felt at the time about it. And I wasn't incorrect. But at the same time, Melody was entitled to invite her to a party. But I just think that it wasn't going to help anything. It was going to cause more drama, and it did. So if you say you don't want drama, but then you do things that cause drama, that's a contradiction. That's what my point was months ago. So anyway, at some point during the episode, Carlos asked Martell if he ever shared an apartment with Marsau, and Martell didn't want to answer, and Marsau said no, and Maurice said, yeah, you did. You shared a place. Why would two married men need an apartment separate from the homes they have with their wives and children? Why would two married men need that. This is not new. A lot of married men play this game. They get a place, they rent it out with their homies, and that's their bachelor pad, the place they take women who are not their wives to have sex with. This is not new. This is old stuff. And Tisha's sitting there like boo-boo the fool. Not boo-boo the fool. She knows what's going on already. There's so much circumstantial evidence. But because Tisha does not want to leave her marriage, she needs cold hard facts, and that's an excuse to stay. But there's like so much evidence of Marsau being a cheater for him to have a separate apartment, to go to Africa by himself, to be hanging out with Martell in Atlanta with his mistress, right? For Tisha to be stuck at home with the kids for years while Martell was out in the town doing whatever, okay? Like, actually, all three of these men are chauvinists. Martell, Maurice, and Marsau are chauvinists. If you guys remember in season 2 or 3, I believe, Martell was like, you can lie to your wives, but you can't lie to your friends. Don't lie to your friends. Lying to your wife is okay, but lying to your best friend is not okay. Your male friend. Bros before hoes, right? It's always been that way with these men. And then when Lewis came along, I was like, nah, you shouldn't treat your woman like that. And he basically was telling Tiffany the things that the men were saying. They flogged him for it because he broke bro code. And bro code was, don't tell the wives what the men are doing behind their back or what they're saying behind their back. So even though it was a minor infraction that Lewis had committed on that end, the fact that he broke rank or the fact that he broke bro code was enough for them to see him as a red flag, and they had to put him in his place. They had to spank him into submission. You do not do that. You don't talk about what the men do or say behind their wives' backs to their wives. Don't do that, because you're going to ruin their marriage, right? They got to keep the lie alive, okay? And so yeah, Lewis became an issue because and I didn't like the salt that Carlos threw their direction. Like, he was like, there's only 6 people on the stage. I didn't like that at all. That was messy to me because Lewis and Tiffany are largely unproblematic, and I like their vibe on the show. But anyway, at some point, Maurice dropped dime on the fact that Marsau and Martell had a separate apartment. Why would you need a separate apartment if you have 2 houses, Martell? I think Martell Melody had 2 houses at some point. Okay? Why would you need a bachelor pad on top of that? With Marsau, who's also married. Why? And why are you lying about it? If nothing bad was happening in that apartment, why lie about it? As a matter of fact, why didn't Tisha know about this place from the beginning? Why was it a secret? Okay? So there's tons of circumstantial evidence that would indicate that Marsau was cheating on Tisha. Probably before they even met the host. More than likely before they met the host, because I think they've been married for the longest. And so Tisha trying to vilify Melody for telling the truth does not sit well with me, especially since Melody has done so much for her in her time of need, but Tisha could not return the favor. She was willing to throw her so-called best friend under the bus to protect a man who had no problem cheating on her, to protect a man who believes that she should stay at home with the kids, right? Don't worry about business, don't worry about money. No, just stay home with the kids, make food, breed babies, take care of the house, and that's it. Don't ask me no questions. Melody had more faith in Tisha than Marsau did, okay? Melody was trying to bring Tisha under her wing. She was being a supportive friend. We saw what happened in season 1 when Melody was bringing Tisha to certain events. They would hang out together, and she was giving Tisha pep talks on how to get outside of the housewife role. She was trying to elevate her. I don't think she was trying to sun Tisha or keep her like small and insignificant so that she could be the most successful couple or woman in the group. I don't think that was her goal or her plan. She tried to bring her friends along the whole time. And instead of Tisha having her back, she threw her on the bus to protect community penis, who's probably cheating with women who know how to keep their mouths shut. He was probably the one who told Martell to have an NDA. Don't cheat with someone who has something to lose, right? Marsau was probably the one who gave him all that advice in the first place, okay? And so anyway, when Kiki comes on the stage, Tisha walks off the stage and brings out these 2 puppets. I thought that moment was cute. Everybody was laughing about it. And she basically was saying that, or implying that Kiki was Melody's puppet, and she would do and say whatever Melody wanted her to say. No, Tisha has a problem with people telling the truth if it makes her look bad, or if it makes anybody look bad. I remember Miss Wanda or somebody saying something like, when it comes to family, you never expose family or turn your back on family. I think she was talking about Kimmy. She had an issue with Kimmy saying something about Tisha that was true, but it made Tisha look bad. And I think it was pertaining to the fact that Tisha was implying that Kimmy was a side piece. And Kimmy had an issue with that. And no, that wasn't it. At some point, Tisha lied about the fact that Kimmy and Tisha were talking about Melody. I think they were asked this question during the reunion. And so Kimmy did not protect Tisha by lying for her. And Miss Wanda had a problem with that. It wasn't the fact that Kimmy lied. It was the fact that Kimmy telling the truth made Tisha look bad. And because Kimmy is supposed to be family now, she was supposed to protect Tisha regardless of whether she was lying or not, right? And that's the same problem Tisha has with Melody. It's not the fact that she was telling the truth per se. It's the fact that the truth was making her look bad. That's the way her mother groomed her. You always protect the family's secrets, even if it's a lie or if it's dysfunctional or if it's not healthy. That's okay. You never tell on family. You never expose family, okay? So because Melody was the op and Kimmy refused to lie to protect Tisha in order to make Melody look worse, Miss Wanda scolded Kimmy for that. I remember that. Okay, so that's the mentality that Tisha has. I think Tisha knows that Marsau cheated, but because she's trying to protect her image and her husband and her family, I guess, she's going to defend him until the end. Because by telling the truth, it makes her look bad too, because then it'll force her to admit that she was lying on Melody, or she falsely accused Melody of doing something that she wasn't doing, one. And number two, it would force her to admit that she was willing to stay with the cheating man while talking shit about Melody, who had the courage to leave her philandering husband. So she would look like a hypocrite and a coward. So she has to keep the lie alive. And F Marsau for putting his wife in this position to have to defend his honor when he has none. That's the part about marriage that I don't respect. You disrespect me, you do me dirty, and I have to preserve your image, right? And your reputation as this upstanding family man, because by not doing so, I look bad too. And the family also looks bad because of your inability to respect your wife by not cheating on her. So now I have to protect your honor and defend your honor when you have me out here looking crazy defending these allegations where there's so much circumstantial evidence. Now, again, to be fair, it is difficult to leave a long-term relationship or a marriage based on circumstantial evidence. But I think Tisha has more evidence than that. I think Tisha knows a lot more than she's putting on. But she's committed to the Melody is an evil, wicked person narrative, right? And Melody is a wicked, evil person because she's trying to destroy my marriage. And the way she's trying to destroy my marriage is by lying on my husband. If Melody would tell the truth, would she be trying to destroy her marriage? Or is she trying to destroy her marriage by lying? So Tisha was giving the impression that Melody was intentionally falsifying information to destroy her relationship as opposed to reporting the facts. That's two different trains of thought, right? Was Melody doing the right thing for the wrong reason, the wrong thing for the right reason, the right thing for the right reason, or the right thing for the wrong reason? Meaning, was Melody exposing Marsau's infidelity to help Tisha? Or was she exposing the infidelity because she wanted to hurt Tisha, knowing that she would not leave at all? Or was she lying about Marsau's infidelity to make her look bad and to have a crabs in a barrel mentality? If I'm suffering, you gotta suffer too. Melody does not have a crabs in a barrel type of personality. Everybody on the cast always talks about how Melody has been supportive of them, including Kimmy. Okay, they may not be buddy close friends, but Melody is not an evil, wicked person. So at some point in the episode, Kimmy says something like, every offense does not warrant a complete write-off. And that is true. That is absolutely true. I agree with that. But from my experience and my observation, okay, that doesn't really happen. A lot of women put up with crap from their girlfriends for long periods of time until it reaches a boiling point, and then somebody has a eureka moment like, oh my God, this is not my friend. All of these minor infractions that have been committed over the years, that was not an accident, okay? So the nature of the infraction to me is indicative of a person's true feelings towards you, right? The nature of the infraction does that. So for example, You and a friend having a fallout about some philosophical or ideological disagreement is not the same as your friend talking shit about you to your boyfriend or your husband behind your back. Both are infractions, but the nature of the infraction, again, indicates the quality of the relationship you have with your partner. So the quality of the infraction is more important than the quantity of infractions. Little misunderstandings is not the same as your so-called best friend throwing your husband's infidelity in your face, okay? Or painting you as this supervillain because you're accusing their husband, who is your husband's best friend, of also being a cheater. So it's complicated, but I think Melody was a much better friend to Tisha than Tisha was to Melody, period. Hands down, in my opinion, okay? So anyway, Kiki comes on the stage and they talk about the pajama party. And I said this a month ago. I was like, I don't know what Kiki said that was so inflammatory. Like, it wasn't that serious. But I think that the fact that Melody invited Kiki to the party without Tisha, it blew things out of proportion. So because the optics didn't look good, Tisha basically assumed the worst. And she assumed that Kiki was trying to throw her under the bus the same way she threw her under the bus when it came to talking about her addiction issues with Martell and Melody. Tisha projects a lot, because I remember when Melody first found out Martell was cheating again, she pulled away from Tisha, right? And Tisha took it personal, as if Melody was blaming her for Martell cheating. Like Melody said, she was basically saying I was not in the mood to manage our friendship because I'm dealing with situations at home. It's not personal. And Tisha was like, are we okay? Did I do something? Something like that, whatever. It was season 1. And Melody was like, no, I keep telling you, I have no problem with you, right? But Tisha kept projecting that onto Melody and started treating her as if Melody was throwing their friendship away because of what Martell was doing. And she went on the attack, right? And the same thing has happened with Kiki. Kiki did not say anything that bad about Tisha, but Tisha's, I think her guilty conscience or her paranoia or anxiety about Marsau being found out, it makes her a bit hypersensitive or hypervigilant when it comes to Kiki hanging out with Melody. I actually like Kiki's personality. She seems to be a really sweet, unassuming person, and she has beautiful eyes. I said this before. She doesn't seem to be a malicious person. It's just that, there's family politics involved. And Tisha feels some kind of way about the fact that Melody and Kiki are still friends because she wants everybody to hate Melody. If you guys remember in season 2, when Miss Wanda was defending Melody and she was trying to give her words of encouragement when it came to Martell, Tisha got upset about that. She was like, Melody's not innocent. So anybody who tries to come to Melody's defense, or anybody who tries to take up Melody's side or to see things from her perspective, Tisha has a problem with them. It's like she wants Melody to be completely alone on that stage to substantiate her claims that Melody's an unlikable person, okay? I do notice that people like myself and Melody who call out BS when we see it, we are considered unlikable, we're problematic. I notice that a lot. I'm talking about among family, among friends, in the professional spaces. People who are blunt and honest about what's happening and don't like to fake with the bullshit. We're considered problematic and negative because we don't want to participate in the fakeries and the phonies. Like, there are some people who would rather their enemy stab them in the back than in the front. I want to be stabbed in the front. I like to see my enemies in front of me, not behind me. So a lot of people, especially in our community, we have been conditioned to accept unacceptable behavior as long as we like the person who's fucking us over. It's like, you did me dirty, but I'm cool with you, so it's okay, I'll let it slide. I'm not like that, okay? I'm not going to sit around and smile in your face when I know that you don't particularly care for me. Yes, I can be respectful to you and cordial, but we're not going to be cool or friends if I know how you really feel about me. We may be able to work together in a professional setting, but on a personal tip, I don't want that kind of mess in my life personally. And so, there's some people who prefer to be in fake ass relationships. And there's some people like myself who cannot do that. I don't know how to do that. How am I looking at you and I can see right through you and I see a snake? That doesn't make that, I can't do that, right? So maybe that's just me, but a lot of our people, I didn't know that we have the tendency to overlook disrespectful behavior if we like the person. We do this with politicians, with celebrities, with our boyfriends. Like, you could fuck us over and disrespect us as long as we like your personality. That's a problem for me. I can't do that. And the people who call out the BS when it comes to friends and family and your coworkers, they're the ones who are like, you're killing the vibe. I don't like you because you remind us that this situation is fucked up and we want to act like it's all good. No, some people can't do that. So for me, I like spending a lot of time alone, because when I'm alone, I don't have to be fake around anybody, right? It's like when I'm around people, I can see through them to the point where I can't pretend to not see who you are based on how you're treating me. Yes, you're treating me nice, and but there's other stuff going on. I know why you're doing this. You're manipulating me. You're trying to get something from me that you think I wouldn't give you if you were your true self. So yeah, that's why Melody gets so much hate, because she's not going to sit around and act like stuff is all good when it's not. Now, some people can say, oh, you're being pessimistic, you're being petty, you got to let things go. That is true. Sometimes you got to pick your battles, okay? Every conversation doesn't have to be a debate or discussion or some earth-shattering truth. It doesn't have to be all that. I get that. I agree. But I'm not going to pretend to be cool with you or to be your friend if I know you ain't shit. Or I'm not going to pretend to act like you like me because you're saying the things that you think I want to hear. This is why so many black people fall for politics and politics and these same old politicians year after year after year, voting for the same party year after year after year, voting for the same policies. Like, I like the person, so it doesn't matter how they treat me as long as they make me feel good. Like, that's not, I don't know, I can't live like that. I cannot live like that. So yeah, that's why Melody is going to continue to be public enemy number one on the stage, because she does not want to have fake relationships. She wants a real marriage where her husband is really being faithful, not just cheating better, but maybe not cheating at all, right? Tisha is a type that will allow Marsau to cheat better. She'd be okay with him cheating better. If I don't see it, it ain't happening. Out of sight, out of mind. I don't want you to cheat better. I want you to not cheat at all. There's two different perspectives on things. So Tisha is the type that will want a fake relationship as long as like she's getting her needs met or what she wants out of it. And Melody's like, no, right? This is Venus versus Mars, Scorpio versus Libra. Libra's like, yeah, let's work together and have harmony. And Melody's like, Scorpios are like, we can't do that if it's fake. If the foundation is fucked up, the whole relationship is fucked up. That's what's going to happen. That's what happened with her and Martell. If the foundation is wrong, you are building something that's destined to fail, or you're going to lose a lot of yourself trying to maintain something that's built on some bullshit. That's what Tisha's doing. I've decided to sacrifice myself and compromise myself and my happiness to hold on to the idea of this relationship. Some people don't like that. And those people are called troublemakers. They're the whistleblowers. They're the ones who call out the bullshit. And people don't want to be woken up from their fantasy or their dream. I remember when I was way younger, like 20 years ago, and I had one of my first jobs, and we would talk about politics at my job, right? But I've always been woke to the extreme where I'm like the super duper, conspiracy theorist person who's talking about politics and activism and religion and warfare and military and all this other stuff, right? And I was really young at the time. And I remember my coworkers telling me, oh my God, you're killing my vibe. You're so negative. Because I was telling them about things that are happening right now. I was warning people about these things like 20 years ago. And so when people don't want to hear the truth of certain things, they just they make you the bad guy for making them feel not good about the truth, right? Now, there's some people who are pessimistic and like, oh my God, you're a wet towel. I can never have fun around you. I get that too, but that's not what is happening with Melody. Melody is the whistleblower on the show. She's the whistleblower of the fuckery that the men in Huntsville and a lot of Southern men are participating in. So because she's a whistleblower, she's now the bad guy. She has broken rank within the institution of pick-me-ism and long-suffering Christian Black Southern wives. She broke rank. She divorced a handsome male, college-educated male who was present for his kids because he had an affair. You don't do that. No. She broke the rules. She's a whistleblower. Now she's the enemy. I do find it interesting that when Carlos asked Kimmy if she would be okay with Maurice going to Africa for a whole week by himself, she immediately said no. There was no hesitation. And her face looked like, I wish he would. I wish he would do that. And Tisha's like, oh, we're working so hard on our businesses. He's trying to do his best for the family. I had a problem with it at first. That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful for you to even ask to go to another continent without your family for an entire week. That's disrespectful for a wife to have to put up with. Disrespectful. This is why Martell wanted Melody to be more like Tisha. Martell wanted Melody to make him feel like he was smart enough to get away with cheating. Martell wanted Melody to make him feel like he was smart enough to have his cake and eat it too. Tisha is making Marsau feel like he's smarter than her. Tisha knows what's happening, but like I said, she has to keep the lie alive, because by telling the truth, then number one, that vindicates Melody, and number two, it makes her look bad for staying with a cheater while throwing her best friend under the bus for going through the same thing she went through. She had no empathy for someone going through the same situation she went through. This is what happened, and that's why she has to hold the line and keep the lie alive until irrefutable evidence comes out. Okay? And it is what it is. Whether it comes out or not doesn't matter. That's her marriage. But this is the main reason why people on the stage, or Tisha, for the most part, don't like Melody, or don't like people like Melody, because people like Melody, they don't want the fakery and the fuckery. If it's not real, I'm not going to deal with it. Now, I'm not going to say that Melody wasn't like playing her part. She wasn't playing the role of the perfect Stepford wife when the show first came on the air. But she was doing that with the expectation that Martell had stopped cheating, okay? So she wasn't behaving all of a sudden and putting up these pictures on Instagram because she was trying to keep the lie alive. She believed that Martell had turned a new leaf. And so because he turned a new leaf, there was no point in, I guess, showing the bad parts of the relationship. She wanted to, she had faith in that their relationship would continue to work out. So she's putting up all these positive messages and images and photos of them together hanging out and have a good family time, because she was still invested in the marriage. As soon as she said it's a wrap, that's when she decided to let it all hang out, because she was no longer invested in preserving this fake ass relationship. So yeah, most married women have to go through something like this. And this is no shade to married women. When you're married for a long period of time, you got to make some compromises and sacrifices. That's just what it is. And so yeah, hopefully you're married to somebody who respects you enough to not have you defending their honor when they couldn't even respect you enough to stop cheating on you or to not cheat on you in the first place. Of course Marsau cheated. Of course he did. But is that really our business? Not really, right? It's not our business. But at the same time, don't call somebody else a liar because you want to protect a liar or a cheater. That makes no sense. It's like Melody's a bad person because she's telling the truth, but Marsau is okay. His behavior is acceptable because he's her husband and he's the man. And men do what men do. So even though Melody helped me out a lot more than my husband did, she was hooking me up with businesses and contracts, and we were good friends. As soon as she jeopardizes my relationship with a cheater, it's time to throw her under the bus, because my marriage to a cheater is more important than my friendship with a woman who was trying to elevate my game, basically. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave it there. I posted all of the yearly and monthly readings to Patreon. If you want to become a Patreon member, you can do that by clicking on a link in the description box. If you want to order a personal astrology reading or tarot reading, you can go to my website. I look forward to your feedback. Please like, share, subscribe. Happy New Year's again, and I'll speak to you soon.